I mean, we look really cool. If you
Yeah.
guys are following Holistic Mental Health on our Instagram, hopefully you are. You saw Misty's picture with the new setup. Looks very legit.
Yeah. What
So
wasn't in the picture though is we're podcasting from our closets, and I was not originally set up there. That was my my trial run in my kitchen.
we debated renaming the podcast um, "In the Closet" or "Back in the Closet," something to that degree.
Yeah.
I love
I think
it.
we would gain some listeners and lose some listeners with the title like that. So we gotta
That's all
tread
right.
lightly.
We're all about authenticity here. And the people who are meant for you are the people who will stay. And the people who aren't will find the people who are meant for them. And we're okay with that.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. So we did something cool this week, actually. Both of us. We got tattoos.
We
When did you
did.
get your tattoo? Yeah.
Well, I actually got mine last Saturday, so I think we
You're like
recorded.
a
I had
week
just
ahead of
gotten
me.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. We're like a week apart in our healing process.
Tattoo
So
healing
okay,
process.
tattoo healing. So we're all about holistic, right? Our bodies are healing this week in more ways than one. I ended up getting sick with the rest of the family after that vacation, which I wasn't too happy about. So if my throat sounds a little grovelly this week, that's why. I apologize again for that.
I think it sounds great, actually. I prefer your gravelly voice.
Do you like my deep, sexy sounding voice?
It makes me feel
Do
better
it.
about my voice. 'Cause I always I listen back to one of her episodes and I'm like, wow, she really is the doctor. She's the smart one here. I just sound
What?
like I'm trying to formulate a sentence every time it's my turn to talk. So,
No.
um,
Honestly, most of the time, I am like, when you tell somebody like a story and you give them some advice, you might give them some advice like a friend or somebody, and then you're like, but I don't know, like you do what you think is right. Like you kind of give this caveat at the end so that you don't have any responsibility. I feel like that when I'm talking on this podcast, I'm like, okay, well, here's the information, like I based on all my years of study appears to be true, but like I don't know, maybe do your own research. Like I don't want to be
I
responsible
feel
for
like
anything.
that is kind of how life goes, right? Like people are going
Yeah.
to pick up what fits for them and leave the rest behind. Just same with religion, sports, friends, like
Yes.
that's just the way that life goes. But we feel
100%. Like part
feel
of the
weird to say
authenticity
it though.
thing, yeah, and I think part of the authenticity thing for me is historically I've really struggled with just saying what I'm thinking, which to be fair, you shouldn't always say the first thing that comes into your mind, like we have to have like wisdom with that. But I think I censor myself a lot more than I need to, and I maybe hold back on my creativity and like my thoughts, and because I don't want anything I say or anything I write to be misrepresented or misconstrued or misapplied. Like, but the reality is I don't have any control over how people are
Yeah. I was
going to
just about to
interpret what I
say, I think it's
say.
cool that you think you have that much power over people. Like if you
I
perfectly
do.
craft it, they're going to take it perfectly.
It is very delusional. Yeah, it for sure is. I know. That's why I have people in my life to tell me like, "Wow, you really are delusional." But here
I
we
love
are.
that
So
about you
I'm
though.
I'm putting it out there. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. This is based on, what I know about psychology, and hopefully it resonates with some people, but yeah, I think we both struggle with imposter syndrome though.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably why we have a lot of fun talking to each other, because we both feel like we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think um it's very interesting to me when I see people that like 100% believe what they're saying,
What they're saying.
and they're
Yeah.
like have the confidence, and I'm just like, what do you do? Like, are they the delusional one? Like, I feel.
Yes.
But I've also been reading a book on manifesting,
Mm-hmm.
and what's
Yeah.
really been interesting to me is the power of the mind, right? And how a lot of the content in the manifesting book
Yeah.
is paralleled with the things I'm learning in my psychology classes, like social
Oh,
psychology
yeah.
and some of the other
100%.
things where you're just like,
Yeah.
what are you saying that this priming effect that we use when
Yeah.
we buy the new car, right, is something we can also
Right.
do with like good fortune in our life. Like if we're looking for the good things and the positive, we're going to notice them. It's
We're
not that
going to
necessarily
find
they're
them.
showing up more, it's that our attention is going that way. And I'm like, this is literally how manifesting works. So I thought that was really interesting too.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
How do
And
we manifest ourselves out of imposter syndrome?
hmm. So, like, I think imposter syndrome is actually kind of a paradox, actually, because I think the people who have it a lot of times are the people who are really smart, you know. And that's not to pat ourselves on the back, which I'm happy doing, patting myself on the back. I have no problem doing that. But I think, I think it was, one of the Stoics. I don't know. I would have to look it up. But one of them said, like, the more you know, you don't know. So the more you feel like, I'm never going to learn everything. There's no way I could ever understand this completely. And then there's the other half you're talking about, the people who are like full confidence but don't know anything. And that's this
Yeah.
Dunning-Kruger like Dunning-Kruger effect. You and I have talked about that before, where it's people with low ability or knowledge overestimate their competence, right? So they're like, they go to school, maybe maybe they listen to a podcast. Actually, okay, here's a good example. I watched the Liver King Untold uh, episode on HBO Max. And at the beginning of the show, he's talking about how he read this book on like primal living or something. And then he was like, and then I had to create this whole thing and tell everybody all the things. And I'm like, he read one book, like a single book. And he was like, I know everything about like nutrition and diet and mental health. And like, I mean, think like the number of things that he was confident about knowing, like after reading one book, like that's like kind of like prime example of like Dunning-Kruger, right? It's like somebody gets to this
Yeah.
peak of knowledge maybe where they read, I mean, you see it a lot with people who maybe get like a bachelor's degree or something. You get a bachelor's degree and then you're like, I know everything because this was my major. But then you go and you get a master's degree and you're like, oh, I didn't know that much. And if you keep going, if you keep learning on a topic, you eventually get to the end of that topic where you realize all the stuff that the field doesn't know. And you only get to that part if you're willing to like keep learning. But if you stop at the beginning, then you have full confidence, which is kind of nice, right? It's like ignorance is bliss for sure because they don't have to deal with the imposter syndrome.
It really is. I worked with
I
this
know.
guy. We went to like a leadership convention for work,
Uh-huh.
and they literally like flew us back to Virginia from Arizona. And day one of the convention, it was like, what are you hoping to learn during this time or
Right.
whatever? And so they like went around the table. I was the second person that got asked. The first one was like, better leadership skills, right? Obviously, it's a
Yeah.
leadership convention. But I was like, I'm
Right.
opening to learn anything that's going to make my life better and the lives of my employees better. Like, I want to be always learning. And
Right. Yeah.
the guy that I traveled there with was like, I was in the military for 25 years. There's literally nothing else I need to learn. I don't know why they sent me here. I
Stop.
was like, what? What?
What? Who
He
thinks
was
there's
dead
nothing else to
serious. There's
learn?
nothing else to learn. And I that was the moment I was like, he's not alone. Like there are people out there that really feel like they already know everything that they need in
No,
life to
they
be
have it figured
successful.
out. Yeah, I mean, like
And
developmentally,
those are
they're
probably the
like,
people. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like developmentally, they're like, teenager, like developmental, like egocentrism, right?
Yeah,
Like just
for sure.
very self-focused, like everybody, like main character energy. Like they feel like they're the main
Yeah,
character. Yeah.
absolutely.
But
And
what
this
were
guy
you gonna
was
say?
just one of the most emotionally immature people I had ever met. And I was like, I think you should take some notes here. you
Yeah,
could
that
you could walk out of here a
tracks.
better person, but you're so closed off to learning anything. So,
Yeah. No, he is a good person. What do you mean?
well, yeah, for sure. He
He's a
did help me
perfect.
out
He's
though,
the
because I
perfect
lost
person.
my driver's license. I lost my driver's
Mhm.
license and debit card on that trip. And
Oh
I
no.
didn't really know him very well, but he was like, I'm going to make sure we get out of here. Like, if the TSA won't let you on that plane, I will get a rental car and I will drive you back across the United States. And I was like, all right. I mean, 25 years in the military at least taught you don't leave somebody behind. Because I was
Don't leave
like,
yeah,
he
don't
was
leave your
very nice. I
comrade
found my
behind.
debit card and driver's
That's
license
probably a
later, but
good
it
thing.
was
That would have been an
um,
interesting trip if you had to take it with him. I'm sure you would have learned a lot about him
for sure.
and
Yeah.
his yeah,
I,
yeah.
whew,
It would have taught you all he would have mansplained to
we
you
survived it.
everything you needed to know about life. That reminds me, like he sounds like
Yes,
he's
because he
probably
knows
the
everything.
guy. Yeah. He's probably the guy who says he could like land a plane with no training or like fight a gorilla, like beat a gorilla,
100%.
right? Yeah. Yeah, that's like
Yes.
classic
Mhm.
Dunning-Kruger, right? Like I have all the skills necessary. I have all the things. You and I have talked about this. Like where does that come from? Like why why do these men think that they can
I don't
do
know, but I am
things?
convinced like a minor brain injury for me might give me that power. Like I just want a
It
little
might
like a little
just a little lobotomy, a little just a
yeah, if
smidge of a
those came
lobotomy.
back, I might sign up. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think they micro dose lobotomies. Micro lobotomies are a thing, but
Man,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
shame. Maybe they'll come
Maybe
out with
somebody
like
will
new technology.
sponsor us at
Science,
some
science is
point.
learning.
New technology.
Yeah. Science
Elon Musk is going to
science is
come up
coming
with
out with
something
new
for sure
discoveries.
every day. All right. What are
Oh
we
my
going to
gosh.
talk about today? What did we say we were going to talk about?
So I at the end of the last podcast, we had talked about my cringe moment where like the thought of someone walking 100 miles for me made me
mhm.
feel very uncomfortable, but that I would be
Yeah.
willing to walk 100 miles for anyone that I loved, right? And so that kind
Right.
of started a side conversation that I thought was really interesting. I thought maybe we could dive back into that today.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So Misty and I don't normally we usually take like a couple days after we post the podcast to like listen to it. And so I listened to it on my way to work the other day, and we got to that part where you said if I walked 1,000 miles for you, you would be like mortified by it, right? Like you would just not it would not be a good thing to you. And that just made me think of this concept of there's a psychologist that I follow. His name is Dr. Jonathan Shedler, and he has a lot of talks on the psychotherapeutic relationship. And so one of the things he's talked about that stood out for me is that relationships are for two people, right? So when you're in a relationship with somebody, it should feel like it's reciprocal. It should feel like it's for two people. But a lot of times the relationship ends up being for one. So one person is giving, 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 and the other person is receiving, but the other person isn't able to give back. And so then in that way, it's a relationship for one person. Same goes for like, a hierarchical relationships. And then the goal is the healthy relationship of mutuality. And that is difficult. They're really difficult to find. Some people don't even know what that is. So you and I talked about that a little bit. And yeah, what were your thoughts after we talked about that, Misty, when I said like, hey, it reminded me of this. What was your thought process with me bringing that up
First
for
of
you?
all, do not call me by my legal name. That is not cool.
I'm so sorry. Bestie.
What the heck? I just found
um,
out while she was on her vacation, actually, that she had me listed in her phone as Misty Jackson, and her
oh my
kids kind of
God. Are
razzed
we
her
going
and
to
gave her
bring
a
this
hard time
up?
about it.
We're going to bring this up on the podcast. It's true.
I'm done. I
So
just needed to
I
drop that
had,
little passive aggressive comment. And
well, it's corrected. You're now in the phone as bestie for the restie. It's done. It's good. No more legal name.
perfect.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So after
Tell
we
us
had
what.
that conversation, yeah, I I was like, okay, this is definitely something that I struggle with. Um, and I could, list a million excuses or reasons or whatever for why that happens, but it's also something that I've been trying to heal in myself and work towards. Um, growing up in a family that, and I'm sure a lot of families, I'm not saying I'm special in this, right? But you grow up, you're in a family, and it's like, oh, don't talk about whatever in front of Uncle so and so because that'll trigger them and will make them upset, or don't talk about this or that. Like they kind of prime you for what topics are acceptable to keep everybody like emotionally neutral during gatherings and things like
Right.
that, and or they are unable to show up for you in ways that are needed.
Right.
So just being able to hold space for emotions that your child is experiencing, or be there in different ways, just generally being there. Like, I'm injured
Mm-hmm.
and there's no adult and now I have to go find an adult, right? Like, different situations. And that's not necessarily a
Yeah, you're
specific
not.
example. That's just a
Yeah, well, like it sounds like it just is kind of a situation where like your job is to like not take up space. Like don't be a problem to the people around you. Like be invisible as much as possible.
correct. Yeah. You don't want to be a burden on anyone. You don't want to be needy. You don't want to be too much. And so we've hit on this in one of the other episodes. Is like, where do we finally get to the point where we recognize that inner voice that has been, there to help guide us through life, no longer suits you? Like, I've outgrown
Right.
this relationship with myself. How do
Mm-hmm.
I form a new healthy relationship with that inner voice, teach it, what my new needs are and how to best support me? So that
Yeah.
conversation definitely highlighted some areas where I have grown, and some areas
Mm-hmm.
where I'm still definitely needing to do some work. So I really liked that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's like an interesting thing that can happen too. There's the goal in relationships is to get to mutuality where both people are able to show up fully as individual people with their each individual needs. So, they have their own ideas and thoughts and needs, and there's just two separate beings there. And then they come together and they create a we, or something unique in that relationship, right? Um, and sometimes there's a pseudo mutuality that can happen where there's this appearance of closeness. So you can probably think of families or friendships or marriages or people that you know where you see them and you're like, oh my God, they have such a great relationship. They're so close. They look so, you know, idyllic. Like it's this, idyllic family or friendship or marriage or whatever. And then actually, once you like look behind the curtain, kind of peek behind the curtain, you start to see that there's actually a lot of avoidance of real connection, that a lot of it lacks depth, that there are people in the people in that relationship are actually withholding their individual selves from being seen in that relationship in order to maintain peace. So peace is only possible by the people in the relationship withholding their true thoughts, feelings, needs, in that family unit or that family dynamic. And so that ends up creating something that looks healthy, but underneath you just have a lot of loneliness and a lot of feeling unseen, a lot of um, a lack of belonging. And I think a lot of people don't even realize they're in that because it's very confusing, right? Like you're like, oh, we do all the things that a close friendship would do or that a close family would do, but I don't actually feel the emotions that would be connected with those experiences, and that can be confusing for people, I think.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people end up in those situations because they're afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of being judged, um, afraid of looking stupid. You know, all the things that we talk about that we have with our imposter syndrome, I think carries into some of
Yeah.
these relationships as well. Like, we don't want, like, our authenticity paradox, right? We want to be
Hmm.
seen, but we don't want people to judge us. And so there is a
Right.
vulnerability out there that's like, if I want to fully commit to this, I have to risk my own, humiliation, my own pride. I'm going to have to chip away at my ego to make sure that I'm showing up for the other person the way that they need to. And that might not
Well,
look
and
perfect.
yeah.
It could be messy.
Hmm. And that's what I was going to say, like vulnerability, like the actual definition of vulnerability is revealing something about yourself where there's a risk of you being rejected. Like that is the definition of vulnerability. So the vulnerability isn't like just sharing something that you share with everybody, right? Like it might be like something traumatic maybe that you experience in your life, but it's not something that you feel is risky, right? It's like
Yeah.
you don't have a problem talking to it with anybody. Vulnerability is like when I share a part of myself with you that you can reject. And the goal is that you don't reject it. And maybe if I'm lucky, you actually reveal something about yourself that I can reject. And then in that exchange, that reciprocal mutual vulnerability, we both learn that we're safe. Like you're a safe person and I'm a safe person. And then you build that over time, right? And over time you end up with a mutual relationship. But that's really difficult because not everybody um, knows what that looks like, and not everybody can carry the paradoxes of their partners or their friends or their family.
Yeah. Something I know that I've experienced in some certain relationships is where it's like any level of disagreement becomes this major, like, okay, now we're in a fight. Like, we didn't agree on the same, political stance on something, or um, just differing opinions on a situation that we've both witnessed, right? We're each coming into that situation with our own perception, our own beliefs. And so people aren't always going to see things the same way. And so any kind of disagreement in that way can come off as some major, like, we're in a fight. I'm not trying to fight with you. And it's like, no, I'm just really curious. So my partner and I actually had a conversation this last week. We were driving to Tucson, and
Mm-hmm.
somehow we started talking about car clubs. And he's like, I hate, if a husband and a wife are both in a car club and then they each have to bring their own cars to the event. Like, somehow he found that very annoying. And so I was like, that's really interesting, because, like, if I had my own car and I wanted people to see it as a wife, I should be able to. He's like, well, then the husband should ride with the wife, right? Like, they need to save
Right.
gas. And I was like, okay. So is this like an environmental cause that we're taking up on it? Because I'm just trying
Right.
to understand, like, what's
You're
happening.
trying to like figure out his value system here. Like, what is the thing
Yeah.
he's valuing
Yes.
in this
So,
exchange? Yeah.
uh-huh. So then I was like, okay, what if it's bicycle riding? What if it's motorcycle? Like, so I'm trying to get a bunch of okay, what if I had an appointment after the event and so we had to take two different cars? Does it count if it's not a car club? Like, what is the actual problem? So we went through like, I don't know, 10 scenarios, and it turns out he just really hates car clubs. But it was a really
The
fun
actual the
exercise
actual
for
problem.
me to like dive through that with him, because I'm like, wow, I want to know. I'm like, I'm so curious about how you've come to this decision, because it's, sometimes we
Right.
say things, it's just like it's black or white and it has to be this way. And I'm like, wow, I see it the opposite way. Like, and I'm not saying one of us is wrong. I'm trying to get
Yeah.
to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm really curious how you've come to that decision. So I want to
Right.
know
And it's
more about it. And
approaching.
at first with my,
Yeah.
but the questions can
I was just going to
sometimes
say,
make the other person feel defensive too. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that you did like such a beautiful job of approaching it with curiosity, right? Like I think that this is like the key thing is like the ultimate difficulty people have is with how to disagree respectfully. Like how do we come to the ultimate goal of relationship is to know the other person, is to be genuinely curious about who this other person is, because the reality is that they see the world and experience the world very differently from the way that you do. And so when they come to the table with something that they're saying and you don't understand it, the goal is to get curious and be like, "Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't think about it that way," right? And then you get curious and start asking questions like you did. Like I remember one time, I think me, you, and John were, I don't know, hanging out by the pool or something. I don't know where we were, but you asked a question and I started responding to whatever question I heard. And like in the middle of me responding, you were like, you kind of like, you like paused me for a second and you were like, what question are you responding to? Like, what, like, what question did you
What did you just hear
hear
me
me
ask
ask?
you?
What?
Because your
Yeah,
answer
that's what you
was
said.
not.
Yes. Yes. What did you just hear me ask you? Yeah. And I was like, oh, did I not hear the right question? And yeah, I didn't hear the question correctly. And instead of assuming that I heard the question correctly, you asked me, right? You were like, tell me the question that you're answering because I don't know what question you're answering, right? Um, I think that's a perfect example. Like some people in communication, like they assume that the other person actually heard the words that they said or that the person is interpreting like that the person has the same definition of words that they have. And a lot of times they don't, a lot of times those
That's something
definitions
I've
are
been
different.
practicing a lot lately. I'm like, ooh, what? We had this conversation too. I think it was me, you, and my partner. We said the word sassy, right? So,
Yeah.
April's other best friend, ChatGPT, accused me of um, having sass. And so I was like, I'm offended by this. Like, this is offensive to me. And so we we started talking about um, what does that word mean to you? Does it land differently if it's coming from a male or a female, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
what
Because I thought it was funny.
experience
I
is
thought it
surrounding
was,
that word?
yeah.
Yeah, but then really going
Yeah.
back
Because,
to the dictionary too and like reading what does this word actually mean, because I think we take a lot of words in context and the situation sometimes builds that context for us and it's not like the true definition of the word. So kind of just going back and being like, let me look that up actually, because before I get super offended, I want to make sure that tenacity can be used
yeah.
in a positive
Right.
and or it's an evil power that could be
Right.
used for good. I don't know. But yeah, I really have been
You're
having a
right.
fun time.
That it's not just a pejorative to, yeah, to make you look any kind of negative way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know we've had like some interesting conversations about that, but I think, we always do a good job of just saying, "Hey, like what does that word mean to you?" or how would you define that word or what is your experience with that word? But I think you're right. Like how do we ask those questions in a way that people aren't going to be defensive when we ask them. Because some people do get really offended if you try to ask for clarity. I
Yeah.
think that can
So
be
I started
tricky.
doing that at work, and I literally just said, like, hey, I am trying to do a better job at understanding, specifically during conflict. So I
Mm-hmm.
am now putting into practice a new thing where I'm going to start stopping and asking word definitions. I said more of like an experiment for myself, like, because it's just really interesting how we can all have a different experience with a word. The word itself isn't always necessarily the problem. It could be the tone, or it could be the circumstances with, in which it's being delivered. Like if I was like, you know what, you're a bitch, like you might be offended, right? But if I was like, what
Right.
bitch, like
Yeah.
there's always a
Yeah. It's same
delivery that can go
word.
with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I
So
think that's important. Like context matters, for sure.
yeah, and sometimes the words we're using form that context, and we're like, okay, well now I'm not sure, but I want to trust that the person I'm interacting with has good intentions, right? So that's when I will
Mm-hmm.
sometimes stop and say, wow, that was an interesting word choice. What does that word mean to you? Because I think I might have a different definition of it. And I might even volunteer mine first, right? Just to kind
Yeah.
of ease that. So if they don't feel like they're on the, like, when I hear the word sass, it comes across as very offensive. I typically, the word sassy and the word sass, totally different context. Like typically you hear
Mm-hmm.
sassy as like a definition of somebody um, who's a little spicy, kind of fun to be around, quick-witted.
Right.
But the word sass is the thing, like your parents say, like, don't sass me. Like it means you're talking back. There's like that negative
Right.
connotation. So being able to say like,
Right.
hey, that's interesting that you use the word sass. When I hear sass, this is what I'm taking that to mean. What is it? What do you mean when you say it? Right. And that at least gives somebody
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to correct, because maybe they're
Right.
like, I have no idea. Let's pull out the old
Yeah.
dictionary and see what, which one of us
Right.
is wrong. Probably both of us,
And
right? Because we,
yeah, and I think to be fair, like there's definitely wisdom that has to be applied when engaging in communication in this way. Like there's definitely some people who like it doesn't matter what you say to them, they're going to be offended. They're going to want to fight with you. Like those are situations where
yes,
you just really just have to be like, okay, there's nothing I can say to this person that's going to allow me to build a mutual connection with them, and that's okay. I'm just going to try to be, as respectful as I can be, and like, just do my job and get through this, if it's like a colleague or something like that. Now, the people that you're like
right.
in relationship with, those are the people you definitely want to start building this practice with, but it's
Correct.
definitely not
Yeah.
a practice you
I'm not
just want to
practicing this with
apply across the
strangers.
board. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Like you have to know your audience, right? Like know when to
Well,
apply
this is
the
just a
vulnerability.
tool to form connection, really, and to gain a better
Yeah.
understanding of the person that you're engaging with. And so if there's no desire for further connection there, then obviously we just make our own assumptions. And I have been
Yeah.
really trying to practice the they must be having a bad. I take everything personally. I think we've discussed that as well. People pleaser. Anything that is said, I'm
Right.
like, I did something. This is 100% my fault. I am now going like, they're probably having a bad day. We got cursed out that same trip to Tucson, where the car club thing came up. We got
Yeah.
cursed out by a mail delivery woman. She was like, somehow we boxed her in, and she was like, "This is an effing road. Get the fuck out!"
Oh
Like
my
she
god.
just went off on
She
us,
was having a
and
bad
we had
day.
just got out of the car, and I was like, so she was able to get out. Let me just say, we parked in a way that made it inconvenient for her to do the thing that she wanted to do, and so she had to back out and like
Right.
turn a little bit, right? So she
Gotcha.
got out and she's yelling out the window, staring me dead in the face. I'm the passenger of the vehicle, by the way. I have no say in where this vehicle is parked. But
Right.
she's just like, this is a road and da da da. And I just said, I hope your day gets better. I'm really sorry. And then she flipped me off and drove off. So I was like, okay, whatever. This is not my problem. You're
Okay, but
free
here's the real
already
question
and you
though.
still want to yell at me?
Yeah, yeah. My
Okay, go.
question though is like, even though you said, I hope you have a good day, like, how did you process the rest of that emotion? You know, of like, because I'm sure that emotion still came up for you of, oh my God, I'm in trouble, like I'm in the way, like whatever.
No,
None of it did.
here's the thing.
Nice.
No. Yeah, I'm telling you, I've been really practicing this one. So in this
That's
particular
awesome.
instance, I did not park the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I did not try to make this woman mad at me in any way. Like I literally got out of the truck and started to be berated by this woman. And I was like,
Yeah, you're literally a
this is really
passenger
interesting
in the car.
that she's
Yeah,
chosen me out of the two people in this vehicle to be yelling at.
yeah,
And so,
right,
and I just
right.
realized like, wow, she's already like something else is already going on because the
Mm-hmm.
response to what was happening was so extreme. I was like, okay, this isn't about us or where we parked. Like she's either running late, something has happened, like this is not about us. And I'm not going to engage back with her in an aggressive way cuz someone, I very well could have been like, F you back. Um
Yeah.
I wouldn't though cuz that would
Good
that would
job
then
that you
make me feel
didn't.
like I've
I'm glad you didn't like back into
no,
her or anything,
why would I do that? Oh my gosh.
Not on purpose. I mean,
Um I just realized though, like, this is not about me. This woman is
yeah,
having a bad day and we are now getting to witness it. And I literally said with kindness too, like, I hope your day gets better. I'm really sorry. And then that just pissed her off
yeah,
more. But I was like, I
right.
really like something's happening there.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Yeah, so let's talk about like disagreements, like safe disagreements. I'm trying to think of a time that you and I had. I mean, we've had plenty of disagreements, throughout. Well, we've had been friends for like 15 years, so there's been a lot for sure. Um, how do we learn to safely disagree with people and not disconnect, and not engage in that pseudo mutuality where, because healthy mutuality requires space for conflict and messiness of being human, you know? And so how do we
Yeah.
build tolerance? Like how did we build the tolerance for that in our relationship? I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
So, yeah, from my perspective, I think it's really just been a practice over time. Because, like, the
Hmm.
first major disagreement that we had, I think it was 2013. We'd only been friends for about three
Hmm.
years, and we had a
Yeah.
disagreement about something that you actually had forgotten about until I recently brought it up. But
Just
we had a
digging up old
fight.
wounds.
We had a fight, and um, we did not handle it well. Like we had a fight. You basically, because this was younger, spicy April, right? And
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, it was a
you
long time
basically were
ago.
like, "Go f yourself," like we're done. And then we
Hmm.
didn't talk for a month and a half, 2 months. Like it was a while. Because I
Hmm.
during that time I
I
was,
like basically just like ghosted you.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And then
Hmm.
so I was just like, wow, we're I have offended her so badly that she doesn't like, again, put me back in my little child wound where if you did anything wrong in your house, you were banished to your bedroom. You were no longer good enough to be in public and with the community,
Right.
right? It was
Yeah.
isolation for a week in your room. You weren't allowed to be around other people. And so it kind of put me back into that
Yeah.
where I was like, well, I am not good enough to have this friendship. Like, this is clearly my fault. The punishment now is that I've been isolated, I've been iced out. And um, I just kind of mourned the loss of that friendship. Honestly, I was just like, I got really sad. And then we saw each other, you know, 6 or 8 weeks later. And it was like, hey, how's it going? Like nothing had happened. And I was like,
Right. We didn't repair at
okay,
all.
what?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing. It was just like, we're sweeping that under the rug. We're going to repick this
Yeah.
up. But then, of course, I'm on even more eggshell because now I'm like, okay, this isn't safe. This isn't a safe relationship for me because I, um,
Hmm.
I don't do well with that banishment, right?
Well, yeah, because now at
And
that point, it's an insecure attachment. Because now you don't know when the attachment's going to be taken away, right? So it feels very
yeah,
insecure because at that point it is.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and then we didn't have a big disagreement for a while. You actually ended up moving to Texas, and so then our friendship kind of became long distance, which is
Hmm.
harder to navigate in a lot of ways, but then easier because you're like, well, I'm not, at least I'm not going to run into her somewhere, like if we did have a disagreement. But I think that the distance
Yeah.
between us, I think that the distance between us really forced us to have to communicate through things if we wanted to maintain the friendship, right? Because we
Yeah.
couldn't just
100%.
play it off like nothing happened. It was, and then just like meet up
Yeah.
again and go watch a football game or whatever. It was like, okay, I'm going to talk to her because that's how all this relationship is now, is communication. There's no activities to kind of hold us together. There's no kids to hold us together. There's
Hmm.
no husbands. Like this is between you and I. And so how do we move
Yeah. If we're gonna
forward
have
in
a
that?
friendship, we have to figure out how to do that safely. Because at that point, you know, you we didn't have we had kind of a pseudo mutuality where there wasn't necessarily a sense of security there, of safety, you know, of like this isn't going to be like removed from me if I make, you know, misstep or do something wrong, or um and eventually you and I, you know, had a chance to talk about that, and you were transparent with me about how that felt, and we worked through that, and we were able to actually repair it, and which is the most important part of this process of like a mutual relationship is like if you had come to me and you said this hurt me, this made me feel unsafe in this friendship, and then I didn't receive that and I just said, well, sorry you feel that way, right? That's not creating a safe environment for you to come to me and tell me how you feel in friendship with me, in relationship with me. So like it's a really a practice of like both people being willing to like put their egos aside and say, what is this person? How is this person trying to connect with me and reveal themselves to me? And how am I responding to that? I don't want to be a person that is unsafe. That is not a core value for me. So if I'm making somebody that I care for and love deeply feel unsafe, well, that I need to be willing to hear that. Like that doesn't make me feel good at all. Um, but historically, you know, I was taught that we, you know, things happen, we sweep them under the rug, and then we move on. You know, you move on like nothing happened, and everything goes away. So I had to learn a new way of engaging in a true mutual relationship, not just a pseudo mutuality where differences and conflict aren't allowed to be repaired. And so thankfully, over the course of many years, you and I have been able to come to the table and say, hey, this made me uncomfortable, or I didn't like when you did this, or this didn't make me feel good. And we've been able to sit together and say, you know, help me understand that, because I want to understand that and I want to be a good friend to you. And that that sometimes can be we had to build a tolerance for that because there definitely are times when we have a conversation where I think we're both thinking about it for a couple days, and there's like maybe some discomfort there where we have to like deal with whatever feeling we're having, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I also think that because of our friendship, like I know that you would never like intentionally try to do something to me, right? So if you're coming across in some kind of way that is outside of the normal, I'm more concerned about you than I am
Right.
offended by your action, right? Um, I think we kind of had this year actually in January. Maybe was it January or was it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it was right after the
Probably election
election,
time when I
and
was losing my
yeah,
mind. Yeah.
And I just started to see you just like being very dismissive. It was like every time I talked to you for like the course of a week, week and a half, almost 2 weeks, I was just like, okay, she's going through it. Like, I'm going to try to be a good listener. And then it became anytime I tried to like engage back in the conversation, it was an immediate shutdown and dismissiveness and like, doesn't even matter. Like, we're all going to die basically. And I was like, okay, now
All
I
right.
am concerned for your health, your mental health, right? And so
Right.
kind
Right.
of and that's really how I had to approach it. It was like, yeah, you're being annoying and that's fine. Everyone's annoying. I'm annoying, you're annoying.
Mhm.
We put up with annoyances, but it got to a point where I was literally like, this is not the person that I know and love, and I can see that you're struggling so badly with this that I am now legitimately concerned for your well-being. And that's when I
Mhm.
was like, I don't know how to help you in this, but I can't sit here and
Yeah.
watch you like go off the deep end.
Yeah, for the record, she definitely made me cry during my lunchtime at work, so
I am I make her cry all the time.
Yeah. No, but that was
But
really a conversation that I needed, I needed somebody to have with me. I was just I got so stuck in my own mind, in my own world, that I just needed somebody to put a pause in that spiral that was happening, that mental spiral. And I think just having you be very transparent with me and honest and saying, "Hey, like this isn't this isn't you, I love you, I care about you, I'm worried about you." That allowed me to be like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe I need to pause here. I need to regroup and figure out what is it that's actually bothering me here." Um and that's the goal with mutual relationships is like you need people in your life who can be honest with you. Like you need to have the capacity to listen to people tell you where you're falling short in that relationship or where you're struggling because we don't always see things clearly from our own perspective. Like there are plenty of
yeah.
things. I've studied psychology for over 10 years and I can't see my behaviors clearly. Like I need you, I need John, I need the kids, there's many people in my life who are a mirror for me and reflect back to me the parts of myself that need work. And so the goal of if you want to build these relationships with people, these healthy mutual relationships, you have to be willing to allow the people around you to be a mirror, to reflect back those things that you need to work on.
Yeah, and understanding that that mirror is coming from a place of love. Um, I know we
Yes.
talked about taking feedback or criticism on a previous episode and how it hurts that much more when it comes from someone that we love. So, learning to
Mhm.
communicate those things in a way that can allow someone to minimally put up their defenses. I think that they come up automatically. I mean, we're all humans. So, as soon as we feel like we're being questioned or whatever, we're going to feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
I get like a literal physical tightness. I'm like, oh no, um, this
Yeah.
is about to happen. And,
It's
um,
happening. Yeah.
but learning to communicate that in a way that can be received from the other person. And sometimes it's not well received. Like I have really struggled with delivery, and I know when I am the most frustrated, my delivery for sure, my tone fails, right? And I'm like, why am I
Mhm.
saying it like this? But the words I'm saying, super important. The way that
Super
I'm
important.
saying
Yeah.
it now is taking over. Like the whole message is gone because I sound like a bitch right now. So how can I
Right. Yeah.
be
100%.
kinder with my words? Yeah, but it's man, it
Mhm.
is definitely a practice. I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
I literally am trying my best.
No, I think that's probably the perfect place to kind of wrap this up is that none of us are going to do this perfectly. Like, when you have conversations with people, these, like, when you bring up your differences, your conflict, your messiness, you're still going to feel defensive. That is a normal feeling. You're still going to feel attacked. You're still going to feel guarded. You're still going to feel like all of those feelings that are very human to feel. Like, none of us wants to be vulnerable. None of us wants to get hurt. The goal is that you feel that feeling and then you say, no, I know this person loves me. I know I don't have to feel defensive here. I'm going to stay open. I'm going to stay present, even though I feel defensive, even though I want to fight right now, even though I want to punch you in the face, right? Like, I'm not going to. I'm going to remain calm. I'm going to try to receive everything you tell me in good faith, believing that you want the best for me. That takes practice. Like, that really is like a spiritual practice of having that emotion and staying open to the people that you love.
Yeah. Even if they're maybe not responding with great intentions, right? Because I know sometimes we'll have a bad day and we end up taking it out on the people around us, and it's literally like, where can I teapot this energy that I have? I need to get it out of me because I'm not strong enough to
Yeah.
carry it for myself. So you're like, boom, got him, and then you're like, oh, that was
God, yeah.
really
Was
why
so
did I do
mean.
that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's like getting to the point of like learning when you're having a bad day and being like, hey, I'm having a bad day. I just need to like vent right now. Like, I just need to like get this out and yell about this stupid fucking bitch, or this whatever. And like just getting it out, like, it's just communicating that internal experience, so you're not just like projecting your anger out into the world or onto people you love.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I'm
anything you
glad
want
that
to.
I have you to project everything onto.
Everything, yeah, yeah. And I never take it personally, at least while we're talking. Maybe after I get off the
Mm-hmm.
phone I might
Mm-hmm.
cry for a
Yeah,
couple
no.
hours, but
No, my experience says otherwise, but I still love you. And I
I
love
love
that
you.
we're um, perfectly flawed and that we are still showing up for each other.
Yes, absolutely. And we hope that our listeners keep showing up for this podcast, okay?
I know, and
Because
I hope these new microphones.
okay, so I did notice that for whatever reason on this recording, there is a little bit of a delay between
Oh, yeah,
me
I
speaking
noticed it
and you
as well.
speaking. I know. So sorry, guys. We're still trying to figure out this platform. If there sounds like there's some weird delays, we hear it. We're working on it. Budget production. It's getting better every week, hopefully.
Budget production. I can't get better internet though. Like this is the best I can have for this area. So if it's the internet, I
Thank
don't know what
you.
to do. We're gonna have to go to the
I don't know.
library. I don't know.
I don't know. Our podcasters are just going to have to be okay, or our podcast listeners are just going to have to be okay with
Yeah.
the delay if that's what has to happen. I mean, listen, podcast listeners,
Yeah.
we are in a mutual relationship with you guys, okay? Mutual
Mm-hmm.
acceptance, and we're working through this together with you, and so we appreciate your grace and your understanding for us in this process.
Yeah. And I
So,
think we have like 17 official podcast listeners. So whoop, yay
hey,
us.
listen, 17 people in a room is a lot. Imagine us
I know.
standing
That's what I'm saying.
in a room.
Thank you to our
Thank you to
17 listeners.
at least 5 of those are probably me just pressing play over and over again on my
Why are you so obsessed with us?
just trying to get the plays through, so we can get higher up on that chart. Just gonna Autobot
Oh.
the podcast. All right. Well, you guys have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday. Bye.